This is how I start my work every 10 days, all these days. Because if I don't do this one, no, whatever I tell you, not a single one of you is going to believe what I'm going to say. It is because I have this weird curse. Because I'm a designer, I'm cursed. Not just me, I think all us designers, we are cursed. You know, when I got to know this, a few days back, I got to know the story of this person called Cassandra. Now, Cassandra is a princess in Troy. Have you watched the movie Troy? She's a Trojan princess and she had this superpower, okay? Her superpower was that she can see into the future. She knows what's going to happen in the future, she can predict it. But she was also cursed. She had this curse that whatever she sees in the future, she comes and if she tells that to anybody else, nobody will believe. Okay, so that's the curse that she was having. And Cassandra's story is one of the most tragic stories in our history. Because what happens is, this Cassandra, she was able to see that her kingdom called Troy was about to go into war and was going to be completely demolished, destroyed. She knew that. She went and told that to her people, to the army, to her dad, the king. Nobody listened. The kingdom still went into war. The war destroyed the place and she was badly hurt. She was harassed. She was taken as a slave and continuously tortured. And her story is one of the most torturous, tragedy-filled stories. She is then taken as a slave by the king. His name is Agamemnon. And this king takes her to his palace. And right before getting into that king's palace, in that palace pathway she stops. And she again has a vision. And the vision that she has this time is that the moment the king Agamemnon steps into the palace, his wife is going to take a knife and kill her. Kill Agamemnon and stab him to death. And right after that, when Cassandra walks into the palace, she's also going to be butchered to death. So she stood there in that pathway, knowing that she's going to die in the next 100 meters, and she started crying out, pleading to the people around, pleading to the civilians, the elders, that please don't make me go into this room, into this palace, or they're going to kill me. She's going to kill me and I'm going to die. But because of that sad curse, nobody listened. She had to go in, she stepped in, and immediately she was killed and tortured and she died on that moment. She died exactly how she saw it. That place where she stood and pleaded to those people, right? That moment where she stood there and said this is considered one of the most tragic moments of our history. Before Shakespeare, there is this guy who was considered the father of tragedy. He wrote a monologue about that thing, saying her tragedy, standing there and crying, that helplessness that she was feeling, is one of the most tragic things in the world. It was so bad, there are a couple of books about that exact moment where she stood and she cried requesting for help. Helpless. That was one of the saddest moments. There is a psychological concept called Cassandra's complex, talking about that exact moment. It was that sad, that moment standing there. And every single designer that I know, including me, we have stood at that exact same point that Cassandra has stood at. It might not be a palace road, it would be a boardroom or a meeting room. It might not be elders or random civilians, it will be my teammates, my stakeholders, clients. But they've all sat there and tried to convince them something, but God continues to reject it. And this is why I believe us designers are cursed with this Cassandra's curse. So 99% of us sitting here, right? We are not going to be working alone. We are going to be working in a team. And when we work in a team, our primary job is what? We think of this amazing, innovative idea. We think of this idea, this aha, cool idea. And then all of us designers will have that one moment where we take this idea and we go sit in that conference room, look at the other teams, and we have the task of convincing others that, guys, this is what we need to build. Now, I'm not talking about this local ideas like, this button here, that pop up here. No. You know, this bold, wild, nifty ideas, right? The good ones, which need some risk. The moment you say something like that, that is a little heavy, you are going to be faced with 99% rejection. They will say, boss, we don't have, that's too much effort for now. We don't have the bandwidth for it. We can't do this right now. Can we do it later? Can we reduce the priority for this? Let's do it later. We don't need to do research. Let's directly jump to the final screen. We don't need to make wireframes. Let's directly do it. We already know the answer. Why are we still trying to figure things out? Like this continuously will be hit back, and slowly you're gonna feel that yeah, my idea is getting rejected. Now you think I'm randomly saying this? In general, our industry, the design industry is facing this. These are the, simply when I search, these are the things that came. Why UX designers don't feel valued? Undervalued design. Designers are unhireable. Design is not respected in organization. Undervalued. Don't even care about design. The decline of design. So the industry is looking as if design is going down. In general, this is what people are feeling. And what that makes you feel this constant rejection is continuously you get frustrated. Yeah, I had this idea, I know this is the better one, but again, you're rejected. That nice idea that you had is going to be put aside and something else is going to be built. Now, this frustration, what it does is naturally burns out people, burns out designers, right? So, when I looked at it, there was recently a survey done by one person called Rennie. He runs a podcast, famous podcast. So, my assumption was when somebody is a founder and there is so much stress, so much pressure, so many responsibilities on his head that he's going to be continuously stressed out. There's so much to do and he's going to be the most burnt out person in the company. Then there are developers, and there are marketers, they're all having pressure. Then there's also designers. Designers naturally have this frustration, yeah, my ideas are not taken forward. That frustration is there. So I'm like, founders burnt out, like charged burnt out, then there are other things. But guys, when I saw the outcome of that survey, I was mind blown. Because it looked like design was the most burnt out role compared to founder. Founder is the least burnt out role. Completely opposite to what we were thinking, at least what I was thinking. And to this, I have only one hypothesis. The founder, because it's its own company, what he will do is, I want to build this, and he builds it. What that means is, even if it fails at a later stage, it doesn't matter. He has an accomplishment to the feeling. At the same time, a designer continuously faces rejection. Their ideas are taken away. Now, the question is, why is this happening? Like, why is design being rejected like this? I wanted to understand. To answer that, we have to first look at what is design. I know it's a very cliched, base level foundation question, but maybe we should think about it. And when I ask around what people think about design, the most common answers that I repeatedly get is creativity, problem solving, creative problem solving, ideas, imagination, thinking, creative imagination, all around that things. But if you look at what Harvard explains as the definition of design thinking, they put it in 3 steps. The first step is invent a future. Now, invent a future is, in other words, ideation. If I say the app that I'm building is going to come out in 1 year, you are actually inventing the future 1 year later. So that ideation, imagination, building that future. Second is prototyping and testing, and third is bringing to life. The problem that we see is, we designers, most of us right now, look at design at a very partial aspect. What that is that our focus directly goes into that first aspect of inventing the future. We are the people who invent the future, we are the people who have the ideas, and we think, as a designer, our job is to come up with great ideas. That's our job. And because of that, we think after ideas, the execution is somebody else's job. And because of that, some of us, maybe some of us here, will never see even one of our own ideas in the market. You will not experience the joy of having your designs out there. Negative enough to start our conference on design? But I have to also remind all of us that it's not all just bad news, guys. Because if you are following news, you would have seen very recently, Johnny Ive was the ex-product head at Apple. He built iPhone, iPods, iPads, all of those. And his company, they do not have a product right now. His company got acquired by OpenAI for $6.5 billion. They don't have a product. We don't know what they are building. But still, $6.5 billion for the designer and his team. So what that shows us is, if a designer is able to show that value, if they are able to portray that value, then they will get the attention that they need. So even though there is all that negativity in the industry, there is also one side of the industry where design is actually given some importance when the value is visible. So what we need to do right now is to have that tiny perspective shift or addition. Perspective shift is what we want to look at. We want to change our identities from we are the people who come up with new ideas to we are the people who bring ideas to life. Bringing these ideas into reality is our job. That is what we should change our identity to be. And to do that, because we are all working in teams, you have to convince your team to build that idea. If you have to convince your team to build that idea, you will have to show the true value of your idea so that they are like, this is a good idea, let's build it. In other words, what we have to do is we have to break the Cassandra's curse that's on all of us. So this entire session that I'm going to be talking would be about how do we break Cassandra's curse. Simple. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. So follow me, okay? Ready? Okay. Cool. Guys, first of all, this is a design conference. This is not art of food. Okay. So, but what this showed me is that you guys are very open. You are very open to learning anything. You have no idea what I'm going to give you, but still you are ready to do whatever we're telling you. That's good. And open-mindedness is well appreciated. Please maintain that. We have to take this forward. Okay? Good. So somewhere around the year 2009, there was this man called Rob Walker. He was a journalist. He did this experiment. What he did was, he went to the second-hand store and he got some 200 random small items which was costing less than $1. 299 items, he picked up everything, brought home. At home, he added one magic ingredient, one secret sauce into all of those and uploaded it back into eBay. And he was wondering, will some people buy it right now? What happened is, not just people buy it, bought the products, they paid multiples of the original price to buy it from him. What did this guy do? He randomly called some authors, and that magic sauce he added was, he wrote random stories about these products. Like for example, this horse head that he got for less than $1, randomly one author came and wrote, this horse head was the price from this family to that family. Random fake story they wrote, and they uploaded it to eBay. And that product, because of that story, was bought for $62.97. This is a 6,000% increase of the value of that thing, just by one fake story being added to it. And that was not all. The entire set of 200 items that he bought, he was able to sell every single item for the total price of $8,000. Again, a $6,000 increase of random second-hand objects because there are some random stories written and added in the description. $8,000. And you think this is some random experiment, okay? This is not just an experiment, this happens in the real world also. This is a luxury brand called, if somebody recognizes it, great already, but a brand called Hermes. I've been told it is to be pronounced as Hermes. Okay. Hermes. Recently, the real making value of this thing has come out as $1,100 to make it. At the same time, it is being sold. This luxury product is being sold for $12,000. That's close to 10.5 lakhs. If any of you are wondering, Tata Punch. Okay, that is the value of this. 1,100 to 12,000. Just because there is a story slapped on top of it. Now what that shows us is, any object with the right story, the value of it is going to increase. What can we learn from it? We want to increase the value of our idea. Our idea, if you add a story to it, the value of our idea is going to increase. We can convince everybody better, right? Now the question is, now we've seen through these experiments that when you add a story to something, the value of that thing increases. Why do stories work? And if they work, as designers, how can we use it? These are the two things we want an answer to. Please bear with me. Grandmother, grandfather, father, mother, uncle, auntie. They all tell us stories, right? Random stories. Think about it. The woodcutter who cuts and the axe falls into water. Angel comes out. Everybody knows that story?
Yes.
Everybody knows that story. The tortoise and the rabbit running race. Everybody knows the story? The shepherd who's acting like there's a wolf shouting and finally wolf comes, nobody else. Yeah? The stories, irrespective of which state you are from, these stories are existing always. But if you notice one thing in these stories, right? These are not just simple stories. These stories have some bit of life lessons inside it. That party is doing that. No, it's like a life lesson. It's what she's giving. When you drop that axe, it is honesty. If you are honest, you will get more. Other one is slow and steady wins the race. All these tiny life lessons have been added into these stories, and that's what we've been learning. This is not something that happened like 2-3 generations back. We have been doing this as humans for more than 70,000 or 80,000 years. Because back when we were separated and in different tribes, right? There were some tribes that used to sit around one fire and start sharing stories. One person would say, bro, when you go that way, there is a group of lions, don't go that way. If you go straight, there is a tree which has most beautiful red fruit. The moment he ate it on the spot dead. So such stories, when they were sharing with others, people were able to learn from it. They were like, okay, I will not eat that, I will not go there. These stories is what helped the tribe to survive more. Because they are like, okay, what to do in that situation was learned through that. At the same time, there were tribes, other tribes who were not having the ritual of storytelling. They were slowly dying off. I wanted to give you a parallel reference for this. The giraffe that we know, some years back, there were many species of giraffes. Some of them did not have a long neck like a giraffe, right? And because of that, only the giraffes who had long necks were able to reach food on top. The ones that did not were starving and slowly were not able to reproduce and they died off. The ones who were getting the food reproduced and slowly expanded, and now the giraffes that we know are all with long necks, right? For us humans, stories is that. The tribes who were telling stories were the tribes that survived more. They had the plan and idea of how to survive these problems. And the stories is for humans what the long neck was for giraffe. Guys, this thing with the column that I have done, I have not done this since 8th standard. Please appreciate that effort. So now we know this part. Why do stories work? Because biologically it has come as a survival tool. It is in our brain, hardwired, that stories are what we understand. The question is, how do we use it? That's when our next character comes in. His name is Joseph Campbell. Around 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, he was a professor who was very interested in stories, and he was trying to figure out how stories are evolving around the world. And if anybody is wondering, yes, I intentionally placed the name right there so that it looks like somebody is throwing and he's going to catch it. So I had really a lot of fun figuring that out. So what this guy did was, he looked at different geographical locations and saw how stories evolved in these places. What he saw was, in the American geographical area and Australian area, these two places were disconnected for more than 10,000 years. And they were all individually growing their own stories, their own cultures, their own myths, religions, they were all brilliant. But as he looked at these two things, what he noticed was, there was a big similarity between these two. And that was mind-blowing to him, and then he started comparing it with every myth, and what he saw, humans at every point of every location of the world formed individual stories, but all of them were of a similar pattern. And he tried to capture that, and almost like a formula, he put it into something called the monomyth or the hero's journey. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this hero's journey, but filmmakers till date are using this template or this pattern to make good, engaging films. Like for example, Harry Potter, Lion King, Dark Knight, Barbie. You say these are very 4 different stories, completely different movies. Point by point, they follow the hero's journey. At each stage, they follow the hero's journey, and that is why it is attractive. Even the Hollywood movies, Kantara was astounding because the story of Kantara at every single point is exactly like hero's journey. I don't want to go into the detail, but what I really was surprised was, has anybody watched Kantara? Anybody not watched Kantara? Sorry, you spoiled it. You'll have to bear with this course. It's a good movie, you should have watched it earlier. So, the climax moment that here in the hero's journey, which was made in 1950s, is Master of Two Worlds. And if you know the climax of Kantara, you will know that the main character Shiva has a normal life as a civilian and also as the priest or puts the costume of the deity and performs. So, exactly how the hero's journey says, this is a person who is a master of the supernatural and the natural world. 1949, 2022, a super hit. In the 75 years that has passed, it is the same structure that is still working. That means this structure is tuned, hardwired to our brains. And we need to use this structure to add to our idea so that the value of our idea increases. What can we do? Is there a 12-step hero's journey for a design idea that you are going to present? Can we do this for the same hero's journey? A hero's journey for a fintech app would be a little tough. So I looked at other arcs, other story arcs and all that are available. There are many. There are 3-step, 4-step, 5-step, 7-step. But the real question is there a very specific story structure for how to present design ideas? Don't panic, yes, I have. That template that's going to save you from every design discussion going forward is this, a burger. What happens is, the idea, that solution that you have is like the patty of the burger, okay? So, we usually make the mistake of taking one idea, one solution and directly giving the solution to whoever is the audience and just give the solution to them, right? The problem is, there's no bun, it's just the patty. Because bun is just cutlet bus. What you need is, you need to put it between these two buns. The first bun is the problem. What problem is that solution, that idea solving? And the second one is, by implementing that solution, what is the impact that can happen? And by implementing this tiny small thing, this is the easiest way for you to convert your idea into a functioning story. Let me try this in an example. It's a complicated example, so I'm not sure. You must all be aware of this latest update. I don't know how the feelings are. How many of you are in full support of the latest Apple update? Liquid glass. How many of you know of liquid glass? Okay, then we should have done another session, that's it. Okay, so nobody is in support of liquid glass. Okay, awesome. Because see, can you read anything? Apple produced this, right? Now, liquid glass as an idea, what if we try and do the burger method with it? Now, if it doesn't work, it's just a trial. We have to forget it and move on. Okay. Okay. So this is an information I got from a random video. Okay. Now Apple knows that the future is spatial computing. With the Vision Pro, VR, AR, all of these things are coming. But people are a little reluctant to get into spatial computing because when you wear those glasses, there are these big things in front where all the ratings are there. People are not comfortable with that big blocking view of things in front of them. Right? That translucent layer, they are not comfortable with it. That is a problem that they have. Because of that, now they have taken that experience of layers and translucency and added it to all their products so that all Apple users are slowly trained to be comfortable with that experience of real world like experiences, that fluid experiences, that translucent and seeing weird things in the back, which is what the Vision Pro would do to your eyes, right? So Apple has released this to train us users to be better performers at the Vision Pro, so that when finally the time comes that we all start using VR and AR headsets, the Apple users are already comfortable with a certain kind of UI and they are naturally going to go into that, making Apple the market leader when it comes to smart glasses. Now I have a question. Did this change a little bit of your idea of what liquid glass has done? Because Apple has done this earlier. In 2002 when they released the iPod, it had a gesture control which was speculatively for training people to use the 2007 full touch phone. Because people were comfortable with this, when they came to this, they were much more comfortable. So Apple has already done this. Knowing this new information, do you think your mind has changed a little? If not, it's okay. I will talk about it later when we get out. But any idea, if they can put it into the shape of a burger, it's going to sound good. Take the case of Design Quest. The designers of Bangalore are having a hard time getting access to good networks because a lot of events and communities are happening in the hubs like Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. Because of that, the designers in Bangalore are having a hard time to connect the problem. That is why Design Quest, with the right partners and collaborators, have built this community so that people can come together, the solution, and the outcome is that people can network, find like-minded people, and grow as a community. Now, if you ask me, for Bangalore, this is the best thing, a best solution that this problem can have. So, take any idea, any solution, put it into the form of a burger, it's going to start sounding good. Somebody has to argue, okay? So, in most 99% of the cases, this template one will simply work, okay? You can just get away with it, relax. Some crowds are a little more tougher. In such cases, you will have to use some additional, you will have to serve a meal. You will have to use some supporting data, some additional information. With that information, most 99.7% of people also will agree. After that also, if they don't agree, there is a template number 3. Guys, you need to think of something else. This is the wrong place. Storytelling can solve communication problem, not stupidity. Okay? But don't worry, you don't need it because the burger will save you. Burger can always be understood by everybody. Don't worry about it. The important question is what's next. So, who are we? This group of people who are here, we have as a generation, I think we have a responsibility. See, design is, we all know design has value. Design is appreciated. People know that it's great and all. But at every point, at every stage, there is that moment where you have to defend what you are doing. And that defending is what is stopping us, right? This is where our responsibility comes in. Our work is to take on that responsibility, and I know you guys will have great ideas. Take those ideas, make them into great stories, convert them into more impactful stories that people understand that impact, and slowly, as we show our impact in the industry, we will change our identity from people who are just imagining the future to building the future. This is what we want to do. And as a group, by just being here, you are already part of that movement. Because you are here to understand, meet like-minded people, understand what's going on, and bring a change to how the design industry is going. So, we need to bring this change. Imagining the future to building the future. So to summarize, designers, stop at idea generation. We think idea generation is our job. And because of that, execution is with somebody else. This disconnect, what happens? Good ideas get lost, frustration, burnout. Designers must take ownership of the, bringing ideas into life and clearly communicate, use storytelling. And if we do all of that, our role in this industry would be changing from people who imagine the future to people who build the future. This particular shape, if it is resembling something that you can bite, you should know that it is intentional. Okay? And with that, I just want to share that all the things that I talked about are in various references. If you can scan this, it takes you to a particular LinkedIn post where all these references are there. I have put it as a LinkedIn post so that anybody can have access to those references. Videos, books, all of them, whatever I talked today would be covered in that post. You guys can check it out, and if you want to get in touch with me also, all those things are there. Have a look at that. You guys have been a great audience, and really excited to see what future you guys are all gonna build together. Yeah, thank you.